Now look at these two here. Now what I thought I'd do is arrange with Sandown here to get these two put side by side so I can make this video, like a comparison guide between the two. Now the previous SL, very nice. It's had that awesome, very luxurious interior, but you know, because it has been around for a while, it was starting to show its age compared to some of these new cars with these awesome screens in and all these gadgets and things. Don't get me wrong, it is an awesome car. But when you compare that to the new one, Mercedes-Benz have literally taken it to a whole new level. I think this deserves to be on like a movie set or something because it looks absolutely incredible. Now, of course, these upgrades and things, you notice straight away these lights. These are very more kind of aggressively styled towards the center of the car. And speaking of the center, you've got that AMG specific grille now as well to kind of signify it's all those kind of vertical slats. And look really closely at the very bottom as well, you've got these little cutouts here. These are actually to make it a bit more aerodynamic and feeding air through the middle, just to make it as streamlined as possible. Whereas on the previous one, that literally didn't exist. So you can see there, that bit doesn't exist there. Now the rest of the car, absolutely stunning. So what I thought I'd cover now is just a few dimension differences between these two. So just very quickly covering the dimensions, the previous SL dimensions are this on the screen, and then compare it to the new SL. So new SL, of course, as with most cars, they are slightly longer, but have a look at the width, it's 1mm difference. And they usually find quite a lot of cars, when they do come out, they are slightly wider, but I'm pleased to see Mercedes-Benz have actually kept the kind of dimensions, more specifically the width, because I can imagine a few people might want to put this in their garage. 1mm difference, so that's good. And then height difference as well. I'll put this up on the screen here as well, just so you can see. So then guys, starting on the previous SL first. So the interior of this is very nice, very luxurious. Of course, there's very high quality leather materials literally everywhere. You can feel it, it's like that kind of squidgy material. They're so nice. Now, of course, if you're looking at the previous SL, so the new one, which I'll show you in a second, came out earlier this year. Obviously, this is the first time I've managed to get my hands on one. But if you're looking at the previous one, be sure to check out like the specification, because most commonly Mercedes-Benz have premium plus packages in the UK. But on the SL, it was slightly different. Every single option that you could specify was separate. So whenever you go to look at one or anything like that, if you're thinking of buying one, be sure to check out the specification, because each item is separate. So they're not in packages compared to like the new ones, like on this one over here. But be sure to check that out, it's quite important. But yeah, of course, if you were considering this one, they're very nice. They sound awesome when you drive down the road. That you can get an SL 400, 500 and a 63 if you want to go all out. Rear wheel drive though, so go careful in the wet. But yeah, all very nice. The multimedia system, of course, it's all built in here, but we'll show you the differences on the new one in just a moment. This is all operated using this little wheel here, and you can spin it around and control different things. You'll also find options and things like these heated seats. Some cars even have ventilated seats, which is quite good, because obviously if it's a convertible, you might need to keep the seat nice and cool. And in the winter, like it is at the moment, you can put an air scarf on. So this is like a neck warmer. You can have warm air come out of here, make it nice and warm when you've got the roof back. So yeah, very nice. And of course, on most, I think all SLs, I'm sure I've not seen a manual seat SL, but yeah, you can of course move the seats here forwards and backwards like that. And some of them even have massage seats as well, so be sure to check that out. So of course, this is the previous SL. What we're all itching to see is the interior of the new one. So let's jump in that one now. Right then guys, so having a look at this new SL, and just literally everywhere you look there's some sort of new design, so completely redesigned from the ground up. And one thing I will touch on in a minute on these two screens here, Mercedes-Benz the designers have really thought about screen placements and that sort of thing. So I'll cover more on that in a minute, but basically if you imagine that when you've got the roof back like I have now, and it's a sunny day, the sun beaming down at the right angle, you might not be able to see the screens, but Mercedes-Benz have thought of that for each screen as well. So this has a little party trick up its sleeve, which I'll show you in a minute. So well, let's have a start on this screen here. So this is MBUX, known internally in the world of Mercedes-Benz as NTG7. It's slightly different to the MBUX you might see on some other Mercedes, with like that kind of widescreen display. The ones with this portrait styled screen are like a new version, so unique to these cars. And yeah, basically you obviously sit here and have your arm. This is kind of like a wrist rest or like an arm rest. You basically just use this like a touchscreen, so you can just tap on relevant things on here. Obviously, being the new MBUX version 2 or NTG7, this has a thing called zero layer, so basically as you drive around and use the car, it will intelligently show you things kind of almost in this L shape here. So as you can see, no device connected at the moment. It's prompting to connect a device, and of course then all the functionality will start to come up on the screen. And of course, this being NTG7, it will have wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, so very, very nice. Now I won't run through exact specifics on this multimedia system, so I've got separate videos on that. I've got one on the sat-nav, if you want to know how the sat-nav works on this new one. Very, very easy though. And there's a video that I made 5 of my favourite features of this new multimedia system as well, so be sure to check that one out. I'll link that one up and above in the pop-out banner. Now, of course, this being a Mercedes-AMG, it wouldn't be complete without a few little AMG little tricks up its sleeve. So for starts, you've got these little kind of circular wheels on the steering wheel. Now when the engine's on or when the ignition's on, these will illuminate, and they're literally OLED displays, and they have the AMG logo in them. And as soon as it's started, you can see here, you can actually change your drive mode just like this. And yeah, very, very vivid. So you've got things like slippery, individual, comfort, sport, sport plus, and of course, I'm sure for the keen eye, you've probably spotted the louder exhaust button, so everyone's always favourite button. But yeah, you can actually tweak these, so you can press on the screen to change what these buttons do. So it's really, really clever. Now, one thing, of course, I did mention when I just first sat in this car is the screen placements here. So picture this, you're driving down the road and the sun is beaming down on you, you know, at the right angle, you know, potentially up there, the sun could be up there, and you would be able to see the reflection here. Now, because this is such a big screen and you could get that sun reflection, say you have thought of this, there is a button just here which allows you to tilt the screen. And there's many different variations of where that tilt is, but if I press this, you can literally tilt it to virtually any angle you like. So most commonly, if I put this over here, that's where it normally is. Now, of course, then if I press that button again, you can move this across here and you can tilt it just slightly, just a little bit like that, or have it fully forward like that, just in case the sun is really, you know, getting in your eyes. So they really, really thought about that. Now, on top of that as well, this screen here, if you actually, you know, when you're sat in the car here, you'll notice that the screen is kind of enclosed and it's kind of got these little silver strips that run up here. Basically, that's to help with sun glare as well, because obviously that is a screen in there. The last thing you want is, you know, driving away from the sun and then the sun reflecting in there and you can't really see what speed you're doing. So yeah, all enclosed in there, and to be honest, it looks really, really nice actually. I really like that. Of course, over here as well, there's a few buttons you can control this seat, move it forwards and backwards as well, just in case you need to, you know, gain access to the rear or want to adjust it for your passenger. I think you can even put the heated seat on as well. Yeah, you can put the heated seat on over there as well. So loads of adjustments. Now, one thing I did notice, this is a different button. You've got your window switches here like normal, but there's a button that says all. So if you press this, basically then when you adjust the windows, you can have all the windows go up at the same time with one button, because normally you'd have to do, you know, the front two and then the back two, but this all button lets you do all of them in one go, just with one button. So nice little touch. So that is the front of the car. Let's show you the rear seats. So now guys, the rear seats on the new Mercedes-Benz SL. So yes, the new SL has rear seats, which sound really, really good, because obviously in the previous one, it was only a 2-seater, so 4 seats in here. Now personally, if this was my car, I would literally just use this as a kind of extended storage area, mainly because of the legroom. Now you've got to bear in mind, this is the same kind of length, similar to the previous one. So I'll show you the boot in a second with the how that's worked out in there, but yeah, of course with the rear legroom, Mercedes-Benz do officially state it is only for up to 1.5 meters. So literally, if you are taller than 1.5 meters, these rear seats are not suitable for you. So you've got to sit in the front. So basically kids and that sort of thing. So I would use it as more like a storage area, like an extended storage area, but yeah, only up to 1.5 meters in the back. And also do try out as well, if you do test drive one of your local Mercedes, do sit in the back, you know, put the seats forward and do sit in the back. These are quite vertical, just compared to, like, you know, other seats. Obviously, just because of its design and the headroom and that sort of thing, just to get the extra 4 seats in. But hey, I would use it as a storage area. So, you know, it's quite good. Like put a bag on the back seat or something if you're going on a road trip. Yeah, nice to see 4 seats, but of course it is just for, you know, people under 1.5 meters. So with that out of the way, let's have a look at the boot. Right then guys, starting on the previous SL first. Now I really liked the boot on this because it kind of transforms. I'll show you in a second. For those of you who may have seen the SLC or SLK when Mercedes-Benz made those, you had this issue. So when you open the boot, you were very limited to how you can actually get stuff in. That was just unfortunately due to the size of the SLC and SLK. But the SL had a trick up its sleeve. It had a button just here, and it literally just transforms like that. That's really cool. Now obviously this is a hard top on the previous SL, and the new SL is a soft top, so I'll show you that in a second. But yeah, that is 364 litres in there of boot space, so loads of space in there. Now the new one is smaller, but don't forget there is that, what I would class the storage space on the rear seats there. So let's show you that one now. Oh, 3-part stage going back, 1 button, love it. It's so cool. Right, onto the new one. So then guys, onto the new SL boot. So most Mercedes-Benz actually have like a badge on the back, and then it pops open for the rear camera, and then there's a button built into it as well. But in this one it's slightly different. There's a release just under here, right underneath. So the design of this actually reminds me of a Mercedes-AMG GT. It looks very, very similar. Boot separator is this one. So obviously the roof I've closed at the moment, so it's completely closed back up. But if you're going to convert it back, it needs to go in here. But if you're not going to do that, then you could maximise your boot space and get it up to 213 litres with that up like that. And obviously remember, if you're not going to have anyone in the back on the rear seats, like any kids or anyone, or people up to 1.5 metres, use those rear seats as well, and then there's even more. But yeah, technically speaking, smaller than this one, but if you maximise the kind of space on the rear seats, then you get plenty of way. But there again, in the back here is plenty for a couple of bags for like a weekend or something like that. Now what I thought I'd do next then guys is a sound off between these two. Now yes, I know this isn't an SL63 AMG, so it is obviously not going to sound as good as that one, but you know, they're both here and I thought, why not? So let's start out with the SL400. And then the one I've been waiting for, because I haven't actually heard this yet, the SL55. I'm expecting good things from this. Now guys, yes, that absolutely sounded incredible. So this is the SL55, so I don't know what the 63 sounds like. That might sound even better, but there again, it is the same engine. Speaking of which engines, there are 3 to choose from in the UK. So you've got an SL43, SL55, this one here, and an SL63, all with varying horsepowers from 381 to 476 to even 585. And the one with 585 horsepower will do a 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds. crazy fast. Do you imagine 0 to 60s years ago? I remember the C63 from years ago was like 5 something seconds, and now they're, you know, sub 4 seconds. It's crazy fast. But yeah, it sounds absolutely incredible. Guys, let me know, what do you think in the comment section down below? I'm curious to see which one your favorite is. So there we go then, guys, that concludes this week's video on the 2 Mercedes-Benz SLs you see here today. Which is your favorite? Let me know in the comment section down below. I am curious. Mine is this one. I would absolutely love this. It sounds incredible, looks incredible, and just looks the part. Although I'm not sure I'd fit all my filming gear in there, but I'd find a way. So yeah, it looks absolutely incredible. Definitely on my Christmas list for sure. So guys, I'd like to give a huge shout out to these guys, Sandown Mercedes, as they help provide access to all these awesome cars that you see in the videos. It's going to be very tricky to do it without them, so huge shout out to them. Guys, thank you so much. Until next week, we will see you then.